I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do, aka my brain likes to bounce around a lot of different subjects, so I chose a field that allows me to bounce around in a lot of different areas because that's how I am, but I also love what I do, so there's also that. I graduated with my master's degree in speech-language pathology, and right now I am a clinical fellow speech-language pathologist, in other words, a CF SLP. Now, the National Governing Board for Speech-Language Pathologists is ASHA, American Speech-Language Hearing Association. So what do I do as a CF SLP and even a speech-language pathologist when that time comes? There are 9 different areas that a speech-language pathologist works in. And ASHA even has these listed out. You can Google ASHA Big 9 and they'll show you what they are. So here's the scoop on each of them. AAC. AAC, or Augmentative and Alternative Communication, not the American Athlete Council, is basically when somebody needs a different mode of communication or a way to help communicate. And that's essentially the really basic of basic definitions. There's a whole lot of information in this that can be talked about, and I'm not going to get into it in this video, maybe in the future. AAC is typically ran by either being voice activated, by touch, or by eye gaze. More common thoughts about what AAC looks like are tablets, the computer speaking device that Stephen Hawking had, putting pictures together to form a sentence and physically handing a sentence strip of pictures to another person. Those are all considered AAC. Articulation. Oh, articulation. How a lot of SLPs know you. So what articulation actually is helping people pronounce certain sounds correctly, or getting the sounds to be a little bit more crisp, such as instead of saying sh for s or sh. If you do not do articulation while you're in grad school, that's kind of weird. Oral rehabilitation. So first off, this is kind of a fun, interesting area that some SLPs get into. Oral meaning the ear and hearing. Habilitation meaning to improve a skill, to lift one up. Re meaning again, so rehabilitation would be to lift someone up again. Oral rehabilitation mainly works with those with hearing aids or cochlear implants, but not always. I do not specialize in this area, so if you want to know more, find an SLP that does specialize in oral rehabilitation. SLPs that usually work in oral rehabilitation typically work hand in hand with audiologists. Fun fact, their national governing board is also ASHA, thus the H in ASHA, hearing. Cognition. This is actually one of my friend's specialties, I guess we can call it. Cognition includes orientation, such as, what is your name? What is today's date? Where are you? How did you get here? Typically, a lot of SLPs that work with cognition, I find typically work at memory care units. Boy, do they have stories. There's a lot that goes into cognition, and I feel like I'm shortchanging it by a lot. Dysphagia. This is Greek-Latin coming together to tell us swallowing disorders. Check your state standards. Is the problem more sensory or tactile, or the feel of the food, or is it more of a physical problem? Is it something that's physically going haywire or wrong or just strange in their throat or in the back of their mouth even? If it's more sensory, more tactile, more feeling, it might be best if an occupational therapist works with them. If it's more of a physical problem that's going on, more appropriate for the SLP to work on the case. Again, check your state standards. Fluency. This one has been getting news, which is kind of nice in a way. So first things first, a lot of books, a lot of movies, a lot of everything that you've ever heard of is wrong when it comes to fluency disorders. Some of them actually get it right, but not many. There are different types of how a dysfluency will sound to an individual. Sometimes there may be prolongations of sounds. Sometimes it will seem like a sound is being blocked and not able to come out. There are repetitions in syllables, sometimes down to a repetition of a sound. There's also cluttering, which is very fascinating. I've worked with a client that has a cluttering problem. Yeah, that was really interesting. Language. There are two parts of working on language. There's receptive, or what is being put in, and expressive, which is coming out. All of a sudden, everyone becomes he. The meaning of roots, ed, past tense and prefixes, the meaning of words, do they follow directions and suffixes, irregular, past tense verbs. There's a lot. Pragmatics. Social one. Pragmatics is very much a part of that social piece of society. How do you talk with someone? How do you look at someone as they're talking? Are you to stare them down? Are you to get in their personal space? Are you to put a few feet between you? And now even more, pragmatics is evolving in a social way because of social distancing, wearing masks, and society changes as a whole. So pragmatics is the ever-changing subject. Voice. Voice and resonance, which also include respiration and phonation. This is part of what I like to do. Is it breathy? How's the pitch doing? How loud are they? Is their voice a little hoarse? Voice disorders themselves I have not worked with very much, but I have worked on the respiration and phonation aspect of this. I typically worked with plenty of respiratory therapists. So there you have it. That's what I do as a speech language pathologist. Kind of fun, kind of crazy.